Hi there, students. But for. Okay, but for. This is a request made by Renyard the fox. Okay, so but for means except. If it were not for, were it not for this situation, not counting, notwithstanding, despite. And normally you use a conditional after this, particularly when the sentence starts but for. So, but for your help, I would have been in trouble. But for your sweet smile, I would be feeling very sad now. So, but for, notwithstanding, except for, if not for. So, if not for someone or if not for something. So, but for the money I have been saving, I would be broke now. So, if it were not for someone, if it were not for something, but for the safety railing, I would have fallen over the edge of the cliff. But for the children, his wife would have left him years ago. But for the support of my friends, I would never have got over that problem. But for you helping me, or but for your helping me at get this job, I would still be unemployed. Were it not for, except for. So there, but for the grace of God go I. This is something you say when something's happened to someone else that could have happened to you. So there, but for the grace of God go I. So if it wasn't for the grace of God, but for, that could be me. And that's the idea there, but for the grace of God go I. So, but for, if it were not for, were it not for, except, without, barring, notwithstanding. The streets were deserted, but for an occasional taxi driving past. If it were not for you, but for you, we would have got this contract. So that's very critical. But for your mistake, we would have got this contract. Okay, so but for either something negligent has happened, without which certain damage would not have been caused, and they use this but for, or a but for rule, or a but for clause. This is something they use in law, in legal English, to say this thing was the cause of an accident. So, but for your negligence, nobody would have been hurt. But for the mistakes you made, everything would have been okay. So, but for, except for, but for my computer, I would be lost trying to do this job. But for the food in the fridge, there is nothing else to eat. So, except, with the exception of. Okay, you use but for to introduce the only factor that stops something from happening, or the only factor that stops something from being completely true. So I have no money but for the money you gave me. So but for the money you gave me, I would have no money. But for your vigilance, they would have escaped. Were it not for you, we couldn't have managed without you. If it were not for you, except for you, but for the heat, it could have been a very beautiful day. So, but for, if it hadn't been for, without something. Okay, so, but for, everything was perfect, but for a few small mistakes, but for a few small errors. Okay, so, with the exception of. So I think that's it. Formality, but for. I think I'm going to give this a 5 in formality. I think you could use it absolutely anywhere. And but for the origin, well, if it wasn't for that, with the exception of. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating. But for all your ratings and all of you watching my videos, my channel would be nothing. Subscribe to my channel and I will see you soon. Bye for now. But for.